fragmentation mines manufacturing. At 14:30, joining us online will be Halina Lokova, the military governor of Kherson City, and we will be talking about the situation in Kherson region. And joining us right now online is Yevgen Korniychuk, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine in Israel. Mr. Yevgen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Yevgen, we know that recently the government of Israel had some changes in. So I would like to ask you how the relations between Ukraine and Israel would change after such changes. Well, really, after prolonged consultations, on the 1st of November, the elections took place to the Knesset of Israel, but after the consultations, the actual government took the sworn the allegiance. The government consists of three political forces: Avada, headed by Benjamin Netanyahu, Likud, I'm sorry, and far right, and nationalistic forces and ultra-orthodox. Quite a complicated combination. I don't know how would they take their seats. There were concerns from on part of our American partners regarding some key offices in the government, and now you understand that they're in power for only 2 weeks, and it's a matter of and the issue of reviewing the support for Ukraine is not yet defined completely. But we take all necessary and reasonable efforts, so the resolution is taken in our favor. There was a telephone conversation between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Zelensky, and that conversation was unfortunately not defining in terms of any breakthroughs, but our president delivered the position of Ukrainian government regarding the formula of peace. So we're spreading this formula in Israel, we're promulgating it. The president made emphasis on a close military cooperation and extended his appreciation for Israel's humanitarian aid provided from the very first day of aggression. Benjamin Netanyahu had only one request regarding voting in United Nations regarding the criminal court. Israel did not join that convention, but it's been attempted to be brought to liability in their jurisdiction. As a result of that conversation, unfortunately, both parties remained to some extent unsatisfied, because no specific, no concrete statements were heard by the Ukrainian sides. I understand that even being the advocate of Israel, it's difficult to undertake any liabilities on the second day in office. So Ukraine didn't vote in the United Nations, which Israel was satisfied with. And the voting under the mentioned resolution was against interests of the state of Israel. So this is how the year started. The consultations are still in progress with our American colleagues. I've just back from the meeting with the American ambassador, with the ministers of the new Israel government, and I'm sure we will have certain success in this area. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose all the details, but there are certain movements, and I think that those movements will have tectonic nature, because we keep emphasizing, we keep reiterating that the humanitarian aid is very important, but we cannot win war with humanitarian aid. We need more active military cooperation. we emphasized that after Iran joined the war, practically providing Russia with their drones, old Middle Eastern saying was reconfirmed just once again, that enemy of the enemy is the friend. And this is something that should push Israel to closer cooperation with Ukraine. And I'm convinced that this is something that is about to happen. Mr. Yevgen, I cannot help but ask, in this cooperation between Russia and Iran, did it change the moods in the Middle East? And I'm not only talking about the government and the decision makers in the Israel, but generally in the society. Did the mood change in the society? Look, I don't have problems with the moods of the society from the very first day of the war, because we made our own research as the embassy. There are official studies made by the local analytics. 85+% of the citizens of Israel support Ukraine in this war. We're talking about the government here. And I am not ambassador in front of the society. I'm the ambassador in front of the government, and I need them to do more. And to have them do more, we need some strategic decisions. We need some strategic resolutions. Israel was very loath to share their know-hows, their technologies. For example, when I meet the military, they say, like, look, we needed 10 years to arm Azerbaijan, and they were using the Israeli weapons in their war against Armenia. I'm saying we don't have 10 years. It's been already 11 months that the war is raging on, and the cooperation that is going on does not really correspond to the expectations of the Ukrainian side. I cannot say that nothing is happening, but I'm a little bit limited in my capabilities to comment this. There is a work related with handing of the Israeli technologies developed in the area of early announcement. I mean, for rockets, missiles and drones. So those technologies are being transferred by Israeli side, and I think that shortly we will receive this technology. But again, it does not fully correspond with the expectations of our government, and we need way more intense military cooperation. And talking specifically about the Iranian drones, if we need something concrete, if we need something specific, we will need a couple of weeks more, because the government only took office, and in view of the stance of the United States of America, and in the view of the moods of the society, I want to emphasize that the government, even regardless the fact that they have 64 mandates out of 120 votes, but the gap between the left forces and the right forces that came in power is like 40,000 voters. You understand that the society is split 50-50 again, and there are many internal policy issues on the agenda, and the government started reviewing the authorities of the Supreme Court, which already resulted in mass protests and demonstrations. The rights require more active actions in Jerusalem and occupied territories, which are related to the disputed territories with Palestinian autonomy. So the issue of Ukraine is not the first thing to discuss for them. Meanwhile, we are trying to make it such. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel declared that war in Ukraine is among top 3 in their priorities. And the Minister already expressed his stance on the intensification of support to Ukraine, and we appreciate any help, any aid, including humanitarian aid. But first of all, we want to reiterate that we are interested in the systems which could defend our civil population. If it's not offensive weapons, so at least defensive weapons which would allow protect the lives of our women and children. And Israel can do it. We need, again, we're interested in more intense and more efficient cooperation in this specific area. So, Mr. Yevgen, just to get deeper into the details, as of today, we don't have any agreements that we may expect to be implemented. So this matter is in the area of discussions still. No, it's not quite right. I voiced something that is being discussed in public space, the system of early announcement, but there are many projects that I am not in a liberty to comment publicly. Our specialists work jointly with Israeli specialists in this, so we cannot say that nothing is happening. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot more that can be done. And Israel's stance is not to discuss publicly the defense matters, and our management is ready to accept such stance, but because we're interested in result, not in the talks. So we're just talking about expansion of such cooperation, and I hope that we will soon be able to expand this cooperation, maybe not in public space, but in the practical plan. Yes, we're interested in the final result, not the interim. We have questions in the studio. Nadia Yurshenko, Ukrinform. I have two questions. I know that the new Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, of Israel, already had conversation with Sergei Lavrov. Do we have any plans about such conversation with Minister Kuleba? And secondly, it was said in the mass media that Israel already discussed this issue with the United States, how to prevent the supply of Iranian drones to Russia. Do you have any understanding of Israel's vision of how to prevent these supplies? Look, the phone conversation with Minister Kuleba, with newly appointed Minister Cohen, it was about to happen tomorrow, but it did not happen due to technical issues. You know that yesterday we had a meeting of Security Council, the Strategic Cabinet, and sometimes during the war we cannot fulfill the plans just as it was contemplated previously. And another question regarding the agreements between Israel and the United States. You know, our specialists who work in intelligence, our security services, they cooperate from the very first day of war, and it's being done in bilateral and trilateral mode. So the issue of supplies of the drones is being worked through on all possible levels, and Israel obviously has their own interest, which is directly related to the fact that those drones can be used against Israel. So they study our experience, and the work in this area is in progress. I hope I replied your question. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that you found time to join our broadcast. I'm reminding you, joining us was Yevgen Korniychuk, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Israel, and our next briefing is at 1400. Joining us will be Natalia Sa, the spokeswoman of the Ukroboronprom State Concern. So bear with us, trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.